Millie Bobby BrownDavid Harbour's no stranger, despite show wrapping. Attends her birthday. Millie Bobby Brown brought out some close friends and family together for an intimate birthday party, and if those David Harbour rift rumors weren't dead before, they certainly should be now. The actress turned 22 earlier this week, and the party raged at Maison Close in the Soho district of New York City Friday night, where our sources say the group congregated into the early Saturday morning hours. Millie and her man Jake Bon Jovi looked like the toppers of a wedding cake, with Millie in a chic white dress, while holding what looks like a Union Jack, the UK's flag, and Jake dressed up in a thick black coat and white dress shirt with a frilled collar. Among the other attendees were Millie's mom and grandparents, reality stars Whitney and Connor Levitt, director Sean Levy, Stranger Things villain Jamie Campbell Bower, and Harbour, who we're told arrived early and exited late in the evening. Harbour kept a low profile in a black baseball cap, but that coat and thick beard are instantly recognizable. As you know, rumors that MBB filed a bullying and harassment claim against Harbour swirled right before the release of Stranger Things Season 5, rumors Brown repeatedly denied. The two were all smiles at red carpet events for the show, and Millie later said she felt more comfortable and safe while acting with Harbour. Stranger Things is over, but it looks like this friendship will never end. The balloons were silver and soft pink, drifting lazily against the ceiling like they had nowhere better to be. Laughter spilled across the room in warm waves, music humming beneath it all, the kind that makes even shy guests sway just a little. It was her birthday, another year older, another year brighter, and the room seemed to glow because she was in it. Millie stood near the center of it all, radiant, without trying. There was something about her presence, steady and electric at once, that made people lean in when she spoke. Fame had wrapped itself around her life early, but it had never quite swallowed the girl underneath. Tonight, she wasn't the star of a global phenomenon. She was just a young woman celebrating with the people who had become her second family. Near the cake table, towering slightly above everyone else, David watched her with the familiar half-smile of someone who had seen it all unfold from the very beginning. The show might have wrapped. The scripts might have been filed away. The sets dismantled. But some bonds don't dissolve when the cameras stop rolling. He adjusted the paper crown someone had insisted he wear. It looked ridiculous. He knew it. He didn't care. "Are you going to pretend you're too cool for cake again?" Millie called out, catching his eye from across the room. He lifted a brow in mock offense. "I am never too cool for cake," he said, crossing toward her with exaggerated dignity. "I am a professional." She laughed, that full, unguarded laugh that once echoed through sound stages and now filled this loft apartment. "Professional cake eater?" "Professional birthday attendee," he corrected. "I take my duties seriously." It was an easy exchange, playful and practiced, like dialogue they could deliver blindfolded. But there was nothing scripted about it anymore. When they had first met, she was just a kid stepping into a world that moved too fast. He had been protective from the start, not in a suffocating way, but in the steady, watchful way of someone who understood how strange the industry could be. On screen, he played her reluctant guardian, a gruff man with a guarded heart. Off-screen, the lines blurred gently into something real. He gave advice. He listened. He showed up. Even now, with the show behind them, he still showed up. Guests gathered as the lights dimmed. Someone carried out the cake. 3 tiers, covered in delicate frosting flowers. The candles flickered, tiny flames trembling like they knew they were part of something important. As everyone began to sing, Millie glanced at David. There was a softness in her expression, gratitude hidden behind playful composure. He sang loudly and off-key on purpose, earning a chorus of groans and laughter. When the song ended, she closed her eyes to make a wish. The room fell quiet. In that brief hush, memories seemed to hum beneath the surface. Auditions, first table reads, late-night shoots, interviews, premieres. Inside jokes whispered between takes. She blew out the candles in one steady breath. Cheers erupted. Someone popped confetti. Music surged back to life. David leaned closer. "So," he said, voice low enough that only she could hear, "what did you wish for?" "If I tell you, it won't come true." "I'm practically family," he protested. I should get partial credit. She studied him for a moment, then smiled. Okay. I wished that even when everything changes, the important things don't. He didn't need clarification. He nodded slowly. That's a good wish. The show had been a strange, beautiful chapter. It had launched careers, transformed lives, and turned a group of young actors into household names. But what it built behind the scenes mattered just as much. Long nights had a way of forging connections. Shared pressure did that too. David looked around the room at the familiar faces, some from the cast, some from newer projects, some from childhood long before the world knew her name. Her life had expanded in every direction, yet she had kept her center intact. You know, he said, taking a forkful of cake once slices were passed around, you've handled all of this better than most adults I know. She rolled her eyes. Don't get sentimental on me at my own party. Too late, he replied. It's happening. He set his plate aside and grew more serious, though his tone stayed warm. I'm proud of you, not just for the work, for who you are. For a split second, the noise around them seemed to fade. She blinked quickly, fighting that emotional swell that birthdays always seemed to stir. Thanks, she said softly, for everything. Back then. And now. He shrugged lightly, deflecting the weight of it. Hey. No stranger here. She laughed at that, nudging his shoulder. You had to. Contractually obligated, he said. As the night unfolded, they danced, badly and without restraint. They posed for photos, made exaggerated faces, recreated old behind-the-scenes jokes. At one point, someone played a song from the early days of their careers, and the entire cast groaned in synchronized embarrassment. Time had moved on. Roles had changed. New scripts waited on new desks. But in that room, under strings of golden lights and drifting balloons, there was proof that some stories don't end when the credits roll. They just evolve. Later, when guests began to filter out and the music softened, Millie stood by the window, looking out at the city lights. David joined her, hands tucked into his pockets. Big year ahead, he said. They all are, she replied. He glanced at her. You're going to do extraordinary things. She smiled faintly. We all are.